Welcome to the Be You Brand podcast. I am your host, Ati Greenspan, and if you're looking to build $1 million personal brand, sell out your services, and do it all while living your best life and fulfilling your purpose, you've come to the right place. Welcome aboard, my friend. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Be Brand podcast. And this one, I think, is going to hit a chord with you because I'm going to talk about successful women show up before they feel ready. I came up with this idea for this podcast based on something that happened to me this past weekend. And I want to tell you this story and a skill that I want you to learn, because when you learn this skill, you're going to be fucking unstoppable. Building $1 million personal brand is all about showing up as the woman that can stand on stage, showing up as the woman that is already making the money that she wants to make. It's about showing up as the woman that is making the impact. It's about being authentic. And this past weekend, I'm going to get into the story a little bit, but there was something that happened that made me really go into thinking, okay, is this authentic? Is this being professional? Am I being real to who I am? I was journaling about it and I found so much clarity. But again, I have to tell you the story because when you learn this skill, you will be fucking unstoppable. So let me actually tell you the story. So today's Monday, and last weekend, on Saturday, I was scheduled to be the MC for one of my friends here in town. She was hosting her first conference. She is my personal trainer. She's a health coach. She's a nutritionist. So I was really, really, really excited about showing up. But also, this is what I do for a living, right? I show up and I MC my own event and I speak on stage. So on Friday, I had a nasty cough, which I still have, by the way. So, if you hear some silences, that might be it. I had a nasty cough. I wasn't feeling good. And then my dog was actually not doing well at all. Like I'm talking like really, really bad. So I had an appointment with my doctor. I went in there. They did x-rays. They found an upper respiratory infection. And then I left the doctor, which was my doctor, and I actually headed home, grabbed my doggy, and head to the ER. I went to my vet. Well, I got to the vet, and my dog was having liver failure. And she was like, you have to take the dog to the ER. So I take her to the ER. My doggy is almost 16 years old. She's still today here with me. But they gave me a really bad prognosis. So I went from the vet to the ER. And at the ER, they told me, she has a liver mass and all these things. So, they start throwing all this shit at you. Now, at this point, it's almost 10 o'clock at night. Now I have to be the next day at the conference. All dolled up, like carrying the room, everything. So I knew that I was going to show up to this event like a fucking queen. Now, in the moment, I was just going through the motions. I did not have a lot of thoughts about it. Like the only decisions that I made was I left the doggy overnight at the ER because I knew she would be better there because I was not going to be home the whole day the next day. And I made the decision to show up for the event 100%. But it wasn't until that night that I came home and I needed to process. The event was amazing. My friend Rose did an amazing job. If you want to check her out, her name is Rose Paterson, and she's my personal trainer. So her event was amazing, and I showed up and I gave it 100%. That night, when I sat down and processed, And I was so tired, but I had this idea. I was like, am I being fake? Or what am I doing here? And at that moment, it made me think about something I learned years ago from a book that actually changed how I think about identity, about performance, and about showing up in business. And in case you don't know this, I used to be a triathlete. I did triathlons for about 10 years of my life. And that mindset actually helps me so fucking much in business. When I became a triathlete, a lot of people don't know this, but I actually went from being, a skinny fat, couch potato. I was a bartender for 20 years. We used to go out every night and drink and party. And then my husband and we changed our lifestyle. And my husband was an athlete growing up, not me. I didn't have any kind of athletic inclinations, never ran, nothing. Okay. So when I started doing triathlon, it was this moment for me because I really fell in love with it. But one of the things that happened is I am not a very coordinated person as opposed to what a lot of people think because I can flip paddles and all of that. That's all practice. But I had a lot of bicycle accidents at the beginning. So at some point, I actually was working with a triathlon coach, and her name is Lesley Paterson. She's a 3-time world champion, whatever. But her husband and herself wrote a book called The Brave Athlete, Calm the Fuck Down and Rise to the Occasion. Now, Simon, her husband, which actually passed not that long ago. And so part of this episode is for him because it made me think how much somebody can actually impact your life even after they're gone, right? Like by you putting yourself out there. So he was actually my sports psychologist when I was a triathlete for a small period of time. And Simon actually studied one question his whole career. And even though you're not a triathlete, I would highly recommend you read this book because it can be applied to anything. I so many times see business as a performance, not like as an acting, but as a performance on okay, you're going to have heavier days, recovery days, days that you go all in, right? Literally how I used to see triathlon. So Simon studied this one question his whole career. Why do some people rise to the occasion when everything is hard and others don't? And his answer was not talent. It was not experience. It was identity. And it was who you believe you are determines how you show up, right? So here's what this means for you as a woman in business. Most of us have what Simon called an identity mismatch. So bear with me here because this is where my identity showed up super fucking big on Saturday. I believe about me, I am the woman that gets shit done no matter what. Now, again, I want to make a parenthesis here because where I was having this connection was, am I bypassing my feelings? Am I honoring how I'm feeling right now? I was having all these questions on Saturday night. And what I realized is there is a moment at a time for everything. And obviously, the severity of things is also a thing, right? But also the integrity when you actually are showing up for somebody else, right? So let's get back to the whole identity mismatch thing, because this is where you can learn something from this thing. And I have an exercise for you to do at the end to really study this concept that honestly, I think it changed my life forever. And it wasn't even me having a business yet. So we can see the woman we are becoming the one who shows up confidently, who charges what she's worth, who posts without deleting, who walks into rooms and owns them. But we don't feel like her. So I have a very vivid memory when I was going to Toastmasters. This was the very first few years of my business. I remember I knew, but it's almost like there was a glass between who I was being, how I was showing up, like my feelings, and who I was seeing on the other side of the glass. And it's almost like I couldn't grab her. So we wait, we prepare a little more, you take another course, we tell ourselves that we'll show up fully when we are ready. And what Simon Richards said, it was a little different. You don't wait to feel like her. You decide to be her first. So the feeling follows the identity and not the other way around. So an example of this is when I show up the other day at the event, my feelings about my dog and the stress and right, like I actually prepare really well. I brought my tea, my honey, all these things to show up as a pro, right? Because I see myself as a pro and I take a lot of pride on me being a professional on what I do. And then I started thinking of how this affects a lot of my clients. When you are letting your feelings go first and you're coming behind your feelings are the one writing your content, your outreach. If you're feeling like networking or not networking, or if you're not feeling it today. No, don't get me wrong. We all deserve mental health days. We all deserve to validate our feelings. That's just like if you had a regular job. But what I see is so many women, there is nothing in the middle between these extreme feminine. I'm like, I'm going to honor my feminine and I'm going to honor my feelings and actually getting shit done, right? So instead of you following the feelings, your feelings follow your identity. So let me tell you a little story about this because you can go and Google this. So Beyoncé used to talk all the time about Sasha Fierce. So I highly recommend you go and look for, there is some reels out there and stuff like that. Sasha Fierce was Beyonce's alter ego. So Beyoncé created her intentionally as a tool, not as a gimmick. She wasn't being fake. But she said when she was putting her stilettos and when she would hear the chorus, the moment the chorus, right before she would go on stage, she was so nervous that Sasha Fierce would appear. So her posture changed, the way she spoke changed, everything was different. And that was a trigger for her. That was a ritual. And this was a signal to her brain that it was time to perform like an actress, like what she truly was. And here's the part most people miss. In 2010, Beyoncé said she killed Sasha Fierce because she didn't need it anymore. And she had merged and she had become. So the destination is actually using your alter ego to practice this new identity, to practice until the confident, fully expressed version of you is just you. So one of the things that I want you to think about is the more you practice stepping into this version of you, this is who you're becoming. You are creating this new version of you from your full authenticity for who you want to become. And I want to tell you a little bit of my personal story when it comes to the alter ego. So when I was doing triathlon, Simon and Lesley taught me this concept directly. I had an alter ego on the race course, and something I used to do right before race morning, I used to put really loud music on my headphones. and I used to have a hoodie because, you know, I'm a very social person. So for me, I would go into that course and I would say hello to everybody and I would do all these things and that would distract me. But for me, I had this Argentinian heavy metal music that was really, I would think of me as a fucking lion. Don't laugh. And that I was in a cage. I was in a cage and I was waiting to be let out. So by the time I needed to go on the swim, I was being let out and I was going to give it my all and I was focused and I was this identity of me. And I believe at the time I called her Christina, but I don't remember. Cristina, actually, like it was very, right? Very Spanish. And she took over. She was the competitor. She was the one who didn't quit no matter what her body was doing. I couldn't access her through willpower. I had to become her through ritual, through identity. I used to put the headphones. I used to like really put my hoodie. And something I used to do also at the time, I bought real badass triathlon clothes. Like I look the part. And when I started my business, I actually told this story several times, but I wasn't the confident version that you see of me. So I used to go networking. And when I first started showing up in business, I didn't feel like I belonged in those rooms. I was still a bartender. I was starting my photography business. So who was I to be there? That was a lot of what started happening. At the beginning, I didn't realize, but there was something about this whole alter ego thing. And I'm going to tell a story. I used to wear black all the time. This is something that a lot of people don't know about me because I was a bartender. All my clothes were black. Branding colors in my photography business when I first started and I was doing baby photography and portrait were orange and pink. So very early on, when I would go network, I would wear something orange or something pink. And that is how I started to show up as the woman I was becoming. Because it was almost like I like felt like her when I was wearing the colors. So getting dressed as this photographer was my trigger. Also, something that happened because I was doing photography, I started experimenting with this self-expression. That this might be a little bit different for you, but this is just like Beyoncé's stilettos, right? That was my alter ego in business. And a lot of the times I would be in the car and I would be repeating to myself, I am a photographer. I believe in what I have to offer. I am showing up as a woman in business. And I would repeat it over and over and over. I remember one of my first ever sales calls that I had. I was walking my kitchen aisle and I was repeating to myself, I know my value. I know I bring value to the table. It was something along these lines. I believe in what I offer. And it was this preparation that was allowing me to show up as that woman. And here's what shifted. I don't really have to do this alter ego anymore because I became her. And for me, there was a very specific moment that I can tell you when I knew I became her. It was during BU Brand Live 2024 at the closing. I remember standing on stage and we were closing sales and people were signing up to the BU Brand Academy. Things were happening like amazingly beautifully. I was not nervous. I was on my power and I knew that was mine could not miss me. So sometimes this takes time, but you practice being this person. You practice being this person that you wanna be. Now, you do not override your feelings. You just process in the moment you're able to process. You actually create moments to process. You sit with the moments. You allow yourself to be sad. You allow yourself to feel the feelings. But then you show up as her. And this was so incredibly clarifying for me on Saturday because I'm more me today than I have ever been. More every single day, stepping further into this vision that I have for myself. So on Saturday, I'm seeing the conference, with Kubuli, my doggy in the ER and having a cough. That wasn't an alter ego showing up. That was just me. That was a destination. The alter ego is a bridge. You use her until you don't need her anymore, until she becomes you, right? So today, I kind of want to give you a little bit of a business application. So most women in business are waiting to feel ready before they show up like the woman they want to become. The alter ego flips that. So, for example, this morning during our CEO calls inside the collective and the academy, I actually was talking about stopping to beat around the bush when you create content. This is just one strategy that we teach. But what I want you to understand is like there is a moment for you to show up and actually don't beat around the bush. And there is moments for you to talk about your life. And there is moments for you to weave your life and actually unify that identity between who you are and what you do, right? So you show up as her first, okay? You don't have a visibility problem. You have a confidence problem. So you have an identity gap. And the way you close it is not by learning more. It's by deciding today to show up as the woman you're already becoming. So I want you to think about this. The alter ego doesn't erase your humanity. It sits alongside it, right? So I'm going to give you an exercise for you to do. And I would love, love, love if you do it. If you can tag me on Instagram and you can tell me what you thought about this chapter, because I guarantee you that this can change your fucking life because it changed mine. It didn't just change my business. This tool would serve you in anything you want to do in your life. If you want to run a marathon, if you want to change your business, if you want to pivot, whatever you want to do. So you're going to grab a pen, and this takes 3 minutes, and you're going to close your eyes. And I want you to think about the most powerful version of you. Not who you are today. Who are you becoming? She shows up fully. She's charging what her product's value is. She posts without deleting. She walks into rooms and owns them. She's not waiting to be invited. I want you to answer these questions. What does she do that you haven't given yourself permission to do yet? What does she wear? How does she stand? How does she speak? What do you call her? Give her a name. Right? For me, Cristina. Cristina was like my triathlon alter ego. I'm going to say, though, I don't think I ever had an alter ego name for my business alter ego. But one of the things that I will tell you is because everybody knows me as Ati, I respond to Ati, but my full name is Andrea. I don't know if you knew that. And sometimes I will talk to Andrea. So give her a name. Beyoncé called her Sasha Fierce. Feeling yours. This is your most powerful moment. The name is your trigger. The next time you're about to do something that scares you, call her up. Put on the thing that makes you feel like her and go. The truth is, she's already in you. You are just giving her permission to come out. And you get to practice who she is. You get to imagine her. And then you get to take action from her. Now, because I talk a lot about somatics, one of the things that I want you to think about in somatics, why somatics work, and a lot of like talk therapy or like talk coaching sometimes doesn't hit, is because you're still in your mind trying to conceptualize. And this is about you being present in your body, actually being her. Okay? So if you are the woman who already sees herself on that stage, you already know she's built for 6 figures, you're done waiting to feel ready. For some of you, that is showing up every day on social media. For some of you, the next step is sitting down and doing outreach. For some of you, it's actually having the identity of somebody that shows up and understand what is the bridge between posting and selling. My invitation to you today, besides doing the alter ego, is where is she already looking for solutions to the problems you already have? So here are my 2 invitations for you. So if you are ready for this transformation, I want you to book a 100K brand audit. This is where we find exactly what's standing between who you are and the brand you're meant to have. I will go through your strategy. We'll talk also about your identity. We'll talk about really who do you need to become in order to be that 6-figure business owner, to speak on stage, to go into the podcast, to really have influence, not just making sales, because making sales is a reflection of you having influence. Go to my Instagram, DM me audit. I'll ask you a few questions and we'll go from there. And if you're still getting clear on who that woman is, come find your people. We have the Be Brand Collective, which is a $55 a month community. This is a room where you actually get clarity, okay? You can cancel at any time, and you actually get to be in a room with other women building their alter ego, with other women that they are already on their way to their 6-figure year or their next 6-figure year, okay? So either way, she's already in you. Go be her, my friend. This was such a good episode for me. And this was like, I felt like I needed to talk about this because so many people think that I was always this version of me that could stand on stage, that could speak with barely getting ready, that I could show up on social media. But the truth is that I built this version of me. And I built her through vision, self-discovery, and staying true to myself, but also by constantly working on my edges and by expanding the areas of me that felt uncomfortable. That dream that you have in your heart is on the other side of you becoming this version of you. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together for you. I love you, and I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Be You Brand podcast. When it comes to building a personal brand, no one size fits all. Our mindset is key, and there is a million things to learn, from social media, making videos, and tech, to storytelling and writing. So if you found this episode valuable, we would love for you to leave a review and share it. Share on your socials, your stories, and send the link to your friends so more women can build million-dollar brands by being more of who they already are. Not sure where to start on your personal brand journey? Take our profitable personal brand quiz. Find the link in the notes.